Hello, my AP students. This is Wendy with AP History Help, and this is the AP History Help podcast, where you will learn everything you need to know about taking AP History classes, from skills to content, from historical thinking skills to themes in history. Whether you're taking or thinking about taking AP World History, AP US History, or AP European History, this podcast is for you. Be sure to check out the episode list and the show notes to find the topics that you need help with. AP History Help is on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where I'm happy to answer your questions. The golden unicorn point. The don't even try for it point. The evaluation and complexity points. Whatever you've heard it's called, it is easier than ever before to earn this in at least 4 different ways. So by the end of our class today, you're going to see that unicorn. Try for that point and evaluate simply as you achieve that perfect 7 on your DBQ essay. But before I get too far along, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you listen to my last episode where I explain how to get point number 6, the sourcing or analysis point. It's pretty important as it relates to one of the ways that you'll easily earn complexity. If you didn't hear or watch it, I'd recommend doing that before you go any further with this episode, or at least make it a point to do so after this one. I did it again. A point. We're talking about earning the points for the essay. Got my fun in early this time. Anyway, episode 15 on analysis is what you're looking for, and I say it each episode, but I'll say it again. They're all on demand for your listening and or watching pleasure. Come in, students, take your seats. It's time for some AP History Help. I'm kind of sad to put to rest that term, golden unicorn point. It used to be that earning this point was as rare as seeing not just any old unicorn, but a golden unicorn. But depending on the course, earning it has been a rarity, slightly higher than your chances of seeing that unicorn. AP World is about 1 to 2% of students, US is around 4%, and Euro was like 5 to 6. From 1 out of 100 to maybe 6, that's not very good odds. I don't know why, but I'll tell you my guess why the College Board has made this more achievable. And the answer lies in my opening statement. In addition to the golden unicorn point, I called it the don't even try for it point. Many teachers out there didn't even bother spending time teaching how to earn the point. It was either not a good return on the invested time, or it made more sense to invest time on analysis or using documents as support of a thesis. Or they themselves didn't really understand how to earn it, so how could they be expected to teach it? Truth be told, the rubric was largely ambiguous with their description. So I'm going to leave that here. We'll let those sleeping unicorns lie and move ahead with our How to Earn Complexity as of August 2023. Yes, your hand is up. Oh, right. Thank you for reminding me why I think the College Board has made this more achievable. Well, first, because teachers weren't teaching it, and second, because many students weren't even trying for it. What it has become is largely just doing a little bit more than you already have had to do to get a 6 on the essay. We are quite happy that the College Board has simplified complexity for us, because I think we'll see overall higher scores on the DBQ essays. As a matter of fact, I'm sure of it. I know how hard it is to keep track of all the things you need to know in an AP History class. So I spent a good chunk of time trying to organize things in a way that you can reflect daily and see the big picture. I call it the AP History Success Journal, and it's available on Amazon. It is set up to be a user-friendly weekly companion on your journey to acing the AP exam. I want you to be able to focus on the important content each day, each week, the thinking skills that we cover in our class and in your AP classroom. And most importantly, you should always take time to reflect on the overall process of what you're learning, which skills you're developing. I've put a bunch of other little tips and tricks in there to help answer a lot of questions that I think you might have. I will put the link to purchase the Student Success Planner in the show notes, but you can also access it through the aphistoryhelp.com website or head on over to Amazon and search on Success Planner for History Students AP, and it will be at the top of the search results. And podcast listeners heard it first. The price is going up soon. The price is low right now to get them out there. Plus, it is toward the end of the school year. But the value is much more than the $14.97 price tag. I want you to have a chance to grab one before the price goes up. So run, don't walk to that Amazon add to cart button. And if you're listening to this after I raise the price, get in contact with me and I'll tell you how to get it for the original price. If you were in class right now, I'd tell you to get out your Success Planner and open it to page 30 because we're going to start with historical reasoning and thinking skills. Eventually, we'll also look at page 84, which includes the rubric for the DBQ. On page 30 are the historical thinking and reasoning processes. These are the skills that AP students should be able to do throughout the course. While they will be integrated throughout the course content, they are very much a part of the 2 essays you are going to write. Think of the DBQ essay as a measure of your grasp of these skills, especially sourcing, claims and evidence in sourcing, contextualization, argumentation, and our more advanced skill, often a part of complexity, is making connections. More precisely, using historical reasoning processes and analyzing patterns and connections between and among historical developments and processes. While there are easier ways to earn complexity now, the more challenging but not impossible ways involve those historical reasoning processes. Specifically, the rubric says for the scoring criteria demonstrates a complex understanding of the historical development that is the focus of the prompt through specific argumentation and or effective use of evidence. While we'll talk about the effective use of evidence later, let's deep dive into the sophisticated argumentation. The language of the rubric is as follows. A response may demonstrate a complex understanding through sophisticated argumentation that is relevant to the prompt. This may be done in a variety of ways, such as explaining multiple themes or perspectives to explore complexity or nuance, or explaining multiple causes or effects, multiple similarities or differences, or multiple continuities or changes, or explaining both cause and effect, both similarity and difference, or both continuity and change, or explaining relevant and insightful connections within and across periods or geographical areas. These connections should clearly relate to an argument that responds to the prompt. Got that? Let's move on. Kidding. I'll break it down for you. First, explaining multiple themes or perspectives to explore complexity or nuance. History, it's not black and white, and there are at least 2 sides to every story. Address that in your essay. Or if your essay is about political and economic impacts, you could also talk about social and cultural. Multiple perspectives and multiple themes. Next, explaining both cause and effect, both similarity and difference, or both continuity and change. This is just adding to the thinking skill that is part of the prompt. For example, if you are arguing about different aspects of a topic, perhaps you'll also come around to adding similarities. Or if you're discussing causation, add a paragraph at the end that explores effects. Third, explaining multiple causes or effects, multiple similarities or differences, or multiple continuities or changes. Yeah, so sticking with that last one, just add some more, right? If you're arguing some causes, add more. Similarities, add more. And last, explaining relevant and insightful connections within and across periods or geographical areas. So add a paragraph at the end that delves beyond the time period you provided in the prompt and say how the topic you're writing about continues into different areas. Or if you're writing about the effect of something, let's say imperialism in Africa, maybe you take it on over to Asia. So in general, the complex way to get complexity is to add more to your argument. More theme, more time, more place, more examples in your argument. Let me know if you'd like a bonus episode where I dive deeper into these with examples. I don't have time today, but if you're interested, I'll add it to the future topics. It is now time for Wendy Teaches History. Sit back, students. It's time for a story. I've been teaching about imperialism in my world and U.S. history courses, so it's fresh on my brain. Have you heard of Matthew Perry? No, not the guy from Friends. Commodore Matthew Perry? U.S. President Millard Fillmore wrote a letter to the Japanese emperor requesting trading privileges, and he gave it to Commodore Matthew Perry to deliver. It all seemed quite harmless. Japan had been isolationist and had closed its borders to the international world of trade. The U.S. saw European countries benefiting from trade in China, and the U.S. was feeling bold. Perry brought gifts. Japan said yes. The modernized, industrialized, and pretty much, caught up with the U.S. and Europe. But history is not that one-sided. Did you know that Perry brought U.S. Navy warships? Yes, plural, ships, with guns ablazing. I mean, he didn't fire on Japan, but over his shoulder as he was giving gifts were these ships. Kind of like, if you don't say yes, we're going to start firing. So along those lines of multiple perspectives, know that there is usually more to each side in every story. And now let's simplify complexity, because I saw some of you mentally checking out with that sophisticated argumentation part. The good news is that since August of 2023, the College Board has made earning complexity explainable, understandable, and attainable. That's right. If you just do supposedly one of these things that I'm about to tell you, you can get complexity. And you get complexity, and you get complexity. I know. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? This seems too good to be true. Ultimately, we'll see how it plays out after the DBQs are written and graded and College Board provides grading feedback to the teachers. But for now, and technically always, we're following the rubric, which goes on to say, a response may demonstrate a complex understanding through the effective use of evidence relevant to an argument that addresses the prompt. This may be done in a variety of ways, such as effectively using 7 documents to support an argument that responds to the prompt, or explaining how the point of view, purpose, historical situation, and or audience of at least 4 documents supports an argument that responds to the prompt, or using documents and evidence beyond the documents effectively to demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of perspectives relevant to the prompt. Again, let's break this down. This is much easier to wrap your brain around. In the rubric, you get the document points by using at least 4 documents to support your argument. Want complexity? Use all 7 of them. In the rubric, it requires that you source or analyze 2 of the documents for historical situation, audience, purpose, or point of view. For complexity, do that at least 4 times. The rubric also says to bring in 1 piece of evidence beyond the documents to support your argument. You can get complexity by bringing in more. How many more? They don't say. But I'd strongly suggest using at least 2 more and make sure that you're using it to support your argument just like the documents. Finally, the rubric says this complex understanding must be a part of the argument and may be demonstrated in any part of the response. While it's not necessary for this complex understanding to be woven throughout the response, it must be more than merely a phrase or reference. So, to conclude, there are many ways to earn complexity, and it no longer has to be woven throughout. Can you try to use all 7 documents, include additional evidence beyond the documents, source 4 documents, and offer multiple perspectives? Why, yes, you can. It's the old way that all who came before you and attempted complexity had to do. So yes, you can certainly do more than what is required, but you don't have to. Let me just offer this final piece of advice as it relates to all the ways to earn complexity. While you don't have to go for it all, don't put all of your complexity eggs in one basket. Or is it all of your eggs in one complex basket? You know what I mean. Next episode, we're going to look at the LEQ essay and how it is different from and similar to the DBQ. The rubric looks pretty similar, but the things you need to do for the points diverge, and we'll talk about that next time. Don't forget that the AP Student Success Journal is only available at this low price for a short time. I'll link to it in the show notes, or just search Student Success Journal AP on Amazon. And I would be so grateful if you would tell your friends who are taking or thinking about taking AP history classes about the podcast. I'm here to help as many students as possible to be successful in the course and on the exam. That will do it for this episode. Don't forget to come to Wendy for AP History Help. And this episode of the AP History Help podcast is now history.